I think Ozai would beat Iroh in a fight, right? So I am gonna go ahead and start this off by showing that video and like allowing people to see the evidence that I did bring up.
You can beat him, and we'll be there to help.
Even if I did defeat Ozai, and I don't know that I could.
I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna play this video again,
You can
and
beat
this
him.
time, like, I'm gonna pause it at certain places. So notice right here, right? This is a clip that I
And
got
we'll be there to help.
of
Even if I
basically
did
what's happening is Zuko thinks, well, the only other person in the world who could beat Ozai besides Aang has to be Iroh, which I would agree with, but like listen to what Iroh says in this clip.
defeat Ozai, and I don't know that I could.
He's like, even if I did defeat Iroh and Ozai, and I don't know if I could. So I clipped that and I was like, Iroh is definitely not sure that he can beat Ozai. So like Ozai, like Ozai, I think is in the spitting distance of Iroh. Like I think they're close, but like they're not like Iroh isn't like, oh, I could beat them, right? He's not like, oh, if we fight, I know I can do this. He has some level of doubt there, right? And there's a level of doubt there that tells me that he knows that he can't, or at the very least, he would struggle a lot, right? At the very least. So that's already, this is coming from Iroh's mouth, right? I don't think he would have said this if he didn't mean it. Like he said this because he's like, well, I know how tough my brother is. I don't know if I can beat him. So I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so right here, right? What I was doing, and a lot of people, right? A lot of people kept trying to strawman me. But my argument in this instance is when Iroh is doing this bending during the comet, he is straining to do it, right? It's not effortless to him. He does have to put a lot of effort into it, right? So I'm showing that. And yeah, like this was a very powerful blast. I'm not gonna say that it wasn't. Because a lot of people, their criticism of this is, well, oh, he was making an explosive blast to destroy the wall, right? And that's the reason why that he was straining. And I understand that. But the problem that I found with that is that Ozai is shown to be doing things that are probably around the same level of strain or the same level of effort, and he's not straining, right? It's not taking a toll on him as much as it takes a toll on Iroh. See, like, also, like, meanwhile, look at this, right? Now, I know this isn't explosive or anything, but that is, like, the biggest like level of feats, like in terms of firebending, like just a straight up blast in the entire show. Nobody else's fire got that big or had that much spread to it, right? And he did not strain to do that at all. But if that's not enough evidence, right? When he fought Aang, I'm gonna show you this. Look at this, right? Okay, so this is something that I think a lot of people keep sleeping on when it comes to Ozai, and this is like a point in the like favor of his skill, basically, right? An avatar level attack, an avatar level fire attack, the avatar can shoot 6 tendrils at one time, right? That is a ridiculous feat, right? And this is avatar state level. This isn't even just regular avatar. Aang is in the avatar state doing this. Now, could a regular Avatar who was really good at firebending do this without the Avatar state? Maybe. I'm not exactly sure if we have enough evidence for that. Maybe. But I won't. Okay, the reason I bring this up is to show look at this. So, like, obviously, like, Ozai is taking in a fight, and then he releases his own attack, right? He counters with an attack that is half as powerful, right? As like an avatar in the avatar state. That is a ridiculous attack, right? And he's the only person we ever see do that, right? Nobody's attacks in this show ever like get that close in terms of like comparison to the Avatar like that. And like I said, he's fighting the Avatar in the Avatar state. He's not just fighting like Aang by himself, right? That is a ridiculous feat that nobody else has. Like you do have to at least acknowledge that. Even if you don't think that this feat is that crazy, I think that you do have to acknowledge that this feat is unmatched. Right? And then I put this right here. Like, keep in mind that it takes all of those fire sages, right? That is what, 5 guys? One, two, three, four. Yeah, it's 5 masters, right? It takes 5 masters, firebending masters to open that one door, right? A fully realized avatar, meaning like an avatar who has like complete mastery of their powers, could do it by themselves, right? But Ozai can almost do that on his own without the avatar state. Now I know that this is during the comet, but like I still think that that's a crazy feat that he can still do that because this isn't something that necessarily always points to power. I think this also points to skill too. So like if you can scale that Ozai could do this, even with the comet, I feel like if you scale that down so when he doesn't have a comment, it still speaks for his skill, right? Like just because of the comment doesn't make these people any more skilled. That's what I don't understand about people who do argue against this. Like just because the comment's there, it doesn't make their skills better. Like their skills in terms of firebending are no better than they were before, right? All it does is give them a power amp. That's all that's ever been stated, right? Meaning that theoretically, everything that we see them do, regardless, like besides the things that just take like blatant power, like the sustained flight, they could do without the comet. The comet is just boosting the abilities.
Oh,
And
Steve.
look at this, right? Like this is another really crazy feat in terms of like how connected Ozai is to his bending, right? And I think that this is another point that I really have to attack because there are so many people who are like, oh, well, Ozai trained with the dragon, so that means, I mean, Iroh trained with the dragon, so that makes him better than Ozai by default. But that doesn't make any sense because in the show, they show several examples of you not having to have trained with the dragons to be an incredibly powerful firebender, right? Because if that's the case, that means Zuko can beat Ozai. And I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to say that Zuko can beat Ozai. It also means that Aang should be able to beat Ozai in a straight up fight just firebending. But he can't. And the reason why is, yeah, training with the dragons does give you a better perspective on firebending and can make your bending more powerful. But it's like the kind of mastery and the kind of connection that people like Azula, people like Ozai have to their bending, like that prodigal, like bending sense that they have, can match even up to the dragon firebending. So I don't think that the dragon firebending immediately means that Ozai would lose. And I mean, I point this out to prove that you do not have to train with the dragons to have a deep connection to firebending. Because Ozai in this moment clearly has an insane level of connection to his bending. And that's the reason why the writers put this scene in there like this to show that. Like, look at the smallest amount. And then, like, look how fast he did that. Like, I'm gonna go back, but like, well, I can't, but like, that is the fastest generation of lightning we ever see. Nobody ever generates lightning that fast, right? Not even Azula. right? Like when you think about like lightning in the Avatar world, you're thinking Azula, Azula, Azula. Azula and Iroh never come close to a feat like that with lightning, right? Like that lightning is the fastest generation in the show, and it's the largest amount, right? Which means that like straight up in a battle of lightning and lightning, right? If you ignore redirection, Ozai's lightning bending is like the most powerful in the show that we ever see. And then like the comment play I did, that's another feat that I wanted to show. Is that like we see several people do it. We see Azula do it, we see Zhong Zhong doing it, but we don't see anybody do it to this level. Like, if you could not see, basically, if you could not see the fire on Ozai's feet, you would not know that he was firebending. It's basically flying. Nobody else's feet is that crazy. Not even Zhong Zhong's, right? Iroh is gonna be okay, let's just lay it down, right? Just in terms of straight up lightning generation and bending, right? Just that. I'm not talking about redirection right now. I'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of that, Ozai wins, right? In terms of like endurance, from what we've seen, Ozai has much more endurance than Iroh does. So in terms of endurance, he wins. Some people have brought up that it's because he's younger. I don't know if that's necessarily the best point. Like I still think Iroh has some pretty good endurance, especially buff Iroh. But I think that Ozai, when you factor in the feats that I just showed, is on a different level in terms of like physicality and endurance, right? So I think he has better endurance, he has better lightning bending, and then like in terms of fire bending, right? The skill in terms of fire bending, I would give that they're even. I don't know if I wouldn't hold that against Iroh. I think they're just about even. But like in terms of like connection to their bending, I think see a lot of people are probably gonna get upset at me, but I also think that's even. And the reason I say that is because think about it this way. If Ozai is as good as he is without the dragon training, imagine how good he would be with it. He would probably undebatably be better than Iroh if he also had the dragon kind of like teachings, right? I really think that he would be. But even without him, I think he's still a match. So I would say they're about 50-50. In terms of potential, I think the fact that Iroh is as old as he is and he's as good as he is, but Ozai is younger and he's like on the same level of power. I think that theoretically, if you think about it that way, Ozai may have more potential than Iroh does. Now, that's something I can't necessarily prove, so I won't try. But like, when you're putting all of these things together, it kind of stacks the argument against Iroh and in Ozai's favor, in my opinion. Now, what I will do is I will pick a couple more videos to show you guys that I did on this, but I do want to at least show you guys that there is evidence for Ozai. Like a lot of people just don't like Ozai, and that's the reason. I'll be honest, I don't like people who do that. I really don't. If your only reason for thinking that Iroh would win is that you like Iroh more, and like I said, there are a lot of people like that who just like Iroh, and that's the reason why they think he will win, I don't like you. I don't think you're engaging in good faith.